He shared his rations with the enemy scout. Now she's defecting and taking her squad with her. The extraction point was gone. Ashton Drake pressed his back against the moss-slicked rock face, ignoring the burning pain in his left side where shrapnel had torn through his tactical vest. Below him, 3 Kieran patrol craft circled the clearing where his ride home should have been waiting. He touched his communicator. Dead. His team had scattered, each man following protocol: survive, evade, extract separately. His fingers found the emergency rations in his vest: 2 protein bars and a water purification tablet. 3 days minimum to the secondary extraction point. The math didn't add up in his favor. Ashton moved through the dense undergrowth, keeping low. The stream appeared suddenly, cutting through a ravine 20 feet below. He half climbed, half slid down the embankment, weapon raised. That's when he saw her. She lay crumpled against a boulder 10 meters downstream, green skin nearly luminous against the dark stone. Kieran, female, long coral pink hair spilled across the rocks, matted with something dark. Her armor was scorched, one leg bent at an angle that looked wrong. His training screamed at him. Enemy combatant, eliminate the threat. Ashton lowered his weapon. He pulled out his water bottle and tilted it against her cracked lips. Her throat worked reflexively. Her amber eyes focused suddenly, locking onto his face. She tried to move, reaching for a sidearm that wasn't there. Easy, Ashton said. I'm not going to hurt you. She spoke in harsh Kieran, then switched to heavily accented English. Why? Because you're thirsty, he said, her face contorted with incomprehension. She tried to sit up, gasped as pain shot through her injured leg. He moved instinctively to help, hands under her shoulders, lifting her to lean against the boulder. Her skin was warm through the torn armor. She stiffened but didn't pull away. Up close, she was beautiful in a way that made his breath catch. Drink, he said, pressing the water bottle into her hand, then eat. She held the bottle like it might explode, but after another moment, she drank. Desperate gulps. He pulled out one of his protein bars, split it in half, and offered it. She took it, sniffed it suspiciously, then bit into it. Ashton knelt beside her injured leg. The armor plating had taken most of whatever had hit her, but the joint was swollen. He pulled medical supplies from his kit, cutting away the damaged armor, wrapping her leg with compression bandaging. She watched him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. You are human, she said finally. Yeah. We are enemies. Yeah. You should kill me. Probably. She flinched once but made no other sound as he finished. Tough. I don't understand, she said. Join the club. The briefings say humans are savage without honor. Ashton paused, meeting her eyes. What do your people do with prisoners? She looked away. We do not take prisoners. Right. The ravine was dark now. Somewhere in the distance, a patrol craft hummed past. What's your name? He asked. I am Sirakth, scout of the 7th Talon. Ashton Drake. Your extraction failed. Noticed that, did you? Mine also. Her voice dropped. My unit scattered. Communications are dead. I have been here for 2 days. 2 days without water. He stood, offered his hand. She stared at it before taking it. Her palm was calloused as he pulled her upright. She swayed, tried to put weight on her injured leg, managed a few hobbling steps. We need to move, Ashton said. Those patrols will come back. We? You got somewhere else to be? You would take me with you? I am Kieran. I noticed. I could be leading you into a trap. Could be, but you're not. He tilted his head, listening. If your squad was close, they'd have found you by now. Her hand moved to her belt where her communicator hung, dark and useless. When she looked back at him, something had shifted in her expression. Why? She asked again. Ashton shouldered his pack and started upstream. After a moment, he heard her limping after him. They moved through the darkness together, human and Kieran. His communicator crackled suddenly, static, then a Kieran military channel broke through, clear and cold. 7th Talon declared compromised, all personnel marked for immediate termination. Failure is not tolerated. Execute on sight. Sirakth stopped moving. She'd heard it. The message repeated, and her hand rose slowly to cover her mouth. They're going to kill me, she whispered. My own people. Ashton moved back to her side. How many were in your unit? 6, including me. Her voice was hollow. 5 others are out there somewhere, all condemned. Sarah, I cannot go home. She looked at him and the gulf between their species disappeared. I have nowhere to go. He thought about his 2 protein bars, his limited ammunition, the 3-day journey ahead. Thought about everything Command had drilled into him. Thought about the fact that taking her with him violated every protocol and probably guaranteed he wouldn't make it out alive. Yeah, you do, Ashton said and offered his hand again. You come with me. They moved through the night in silence, broken only by Serakh's occasional sharp intake of breath when her injured leg caught on uneven ground. Ashton kept them to the stream bed where the water would mask their tracks. After 2 hours, he called a halt in a narrow defile where massive boulders created a natural shelter. Serakh sank against the stone, her face tight with pain she refused to voice. Let me see the leg, Ashton said. She extended it without protest. He unwrapped the bandaging, checking for swelling. The joint was still inflamed. He applied a second cold pack from his kit and rewrapped it. You need to rest, he said. We need to keep moving. Not until daylight. You'll do more damage pushing it. He settled against the opposite wall. Get some sleep. You trust me enough to sleep? You trust me enough to close your eyes? Serakh's mouth curved slightly. Fair point. She shifted, trying to find a comfortable position. After a moment, she unclasped her chest armor and set it aside. Underneath, she wore a form-fitting thermal layer. Ashton forced his gaze elsewhere. Your people, she said suddenly. What do they tell you about us? That you're an empire built on conquest, that you don't negotiate and see mercy as weakness. And what do you think? He looked at her. I think propaganda exists on both sides. I was told humans would torture me if given the chance. Her fingers traced the edge of her armor. I was told many things that seem incorrect. What else were you told? That humans are primitive, that your technology is stolen, your tactics crude. She met his eyes. That you are animals pretending to be sentient. Sounds like your leadership is scared. Of humans? Of what happens when their soldiers realize the enemy is just people trying to survive. Serakh was quiet for a long moment. The Kiran Empire has existed for 3,000 years. We have never questioned our purpose. Maybe that's the problem. She tilted her head. You are very different from what I expected. Yeah, what did you expect? Someone brutal, aggressive, she paused, not someone who would share rations with the enemy. Seemed like the right thing to do. The right thing, she repeated, testing the phrase. We do not have a direct translation for that concept. Your people never help someone just because they need it. Need is weakness, weakness is eliminated. Something in her voice suggested discomfort. That is how we remain strong. How's that working out for you right now? Her eyes flashed. My people declared me a failure and sentenced me to death, so perhaps not as well as our leadership claims. The bitterness was raw. Ashton recognized it the moment when belief systems cracked. The 5 others in your unit, he said, you think they're still alive? If they survived the initial scatter, yes. The 7th Talon is elite. We are trained for hostile environments. Were you close? Kiran do not form emotional attachments. That's not what I asked. Her jaw tightened. Vorik, my second, saved my life during the Proxima operation. Kessa once shared her rations. Taven taught me human languages against regulations. Her voice dropped. They are my squad. I would die for them. Sounds like attachment to me. Perhaps, she pulled her knees up carefully. Your people would die for each other? The good ones, yeah. And you would die for me? The question hung between them. Ashton considered it honestly. Don't know you well enough yet, he said, but I'm not planning to let you die if I can help it. Serakh was silent. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. I have believed in the Empire my entire life. And now? Now I wonder what kind of empire abandons its strongest simply because they encountered a stronger enemy. The admission cost her something. Ashton could see it in the way her shoulders curved inward. Get some rest, he said gently. We'll figure out the philosophy later. She settled against the stone, but her eyes remained open. Yeah? Thank you. He must have dozed because the next thing he knew, dawn light was filtering in and Siracht was shaking his shoulder. Movement, she whispered. East Ridge. Ashton was on his feet instantly. 3 figures moved along the ridgeline, Chiron judging by their silhouettes. Your people, he asked. Siracht had moved beside him, close enough that he could feel her warmth. She studied the figures intently. Possible. The movement pattern matches 7th Talon protocols. Can you signal them? If they heard the termination order, they will try to kill me. And if they didn't? She hesitated. Then they are my best chance of survival. Our best chance, Ashton corrected. Something flickered across her face. She raised her hand, made a series of quick gestures. Nothing happened. Then one of the figures on the ridge stopped, turned, repeated the gesture back. That's Vorik, Siracht breathed. The figures changed direction, moving toward their position. Ashton's grip tightened on his weapon. If this goes sideways? It won't, Siracht said, but her hand moved to his arm. But if it does, run. Not how this works. Ashton, not how this works, Sarah. She looked at him, and for the first time since he'd found her, she smiled. It transformed her face completely. His breath caught. Then the first of her squad appeared at the entrance, weapon raised. The Chiron soldier was massive, easily 7 feet tall, with darker green skin covered in scars. His eyes locked onto Ashton. Siracht, he said in English, his voice like gravel. Step away from the human. Step away now. Siracht moved in front of Ashton instead. He saved my life. He is human. He is the enemy. He gave me water, food, medical treatment when he had no obligation. 2 more figures appeared behind Vorik, a stocky female with heavy weapons harnesses and a younger male. All 3 stared at Ashton. Sarah, the female said slowly, what have you done? What I had to, Kessa. Siracht stood straighter. Did you hear the transmission last night? The 3 exchanged glances, Vorik's weapon lowered slightly. We heard it, he said. Then you know we cannot return home. We are condemned. We know. Vorik's eyes moved to Ashton, but that does not explain why you travel with a human. He is offering extraction, safe passage off this moon. In exchange for what? Kessa demanded. In exchange for nothing, Ashton said. 3 weapons swung toward him. He kept his hands visible. She needed help. I helped. That's it. Humans do not help without reason, the younger soldier said. Maybe you've been lied to about humans, Ashton replied. Same way I was lied to about you. Vorik laughed, harsh, bitter, but genuine. He has spirit, this human. Vorik lowered his weapon completely, and Siracht would not defend him unless she believed he spoke truth. Vorik, Kessa started. We are dead if we stay here, Kessa. Our choices are simple. Die with honor in a pointless stand or survive. By allying with humans? By accepting help when it is offered. The young soldier stepped forward. If the human speaks truth, then everything we were taught is wrong. Not wrong, Siracht said quietly, but incomplete. Kessa made a disgusted sound. Philosophy will not keep us alive. No, Ashton said, but getting you off this moon will. My extraction point is 3 days northeast. Come with us or don't, but decide fast. He turned back to their supplies. Siracht moved to his side. They will come, she said quietly. You sure? Vorik is loyal. Where I go, he follows. Where are the other 2? Her expression darkened. Risa and Jackson were separated. We need to find them. Any idea where they'd head? Jackson would seek high ground. Risa would look for water and cover. She turned to her squad. Well? Vorik stepped forward, placed his fist over his heart. I follow you, Commander, even into exile. Kessa and Tavin repeated the gesture. This is insanity, Kessa muttered, but it is our insanity. Ashton shouldered his pack. Now we just need to find 2 more fugitives, avoid kill teams, and hike 3 days through terrain that wants us dead. Siracht's hand touched his arm, brief, tentative. Thank you, she said. Thank me when we're all home safe. But as they moved out, Ashton wondered where home even was anymore. For Siracht and her squad, it wasn't the Empire that had sentenced them to death. He glanced back at Serac, caught her watching him. Home was starting to feel less like a place and more like a choice. They found Jackson perched on an outcropping, tracking their approach through salvaged optics. He was lean and wiry, his movements precise as a blade. "Jax," Serac called up. He appeared at the edge, weapon ready, then froze when he saw Ashton. The same explanations followed, the same cautious acceptance. Eventually they moved on, now 5 strong. The forest pressed close around them. Ashton walked beside Serac, their shoulders brushing with each step. Each contact sent awareness through him, dangerous, distracting. "You are quiet," she said, thinking how I explain 5 enemy defectors to my command. "Is it not obvious we chose survival?" "They'll think it's a trap." "If I wanted to trap you, I would not have waited this long." She moved closer. "I could have signaled the patrols, could have ordered my squad to kill you." "But you didn't." "No," her voice was soft, "I did not." Her hand brushed his. The touch lingered longer than accident would allow. "What will happen to us," she asked, "when you return?" "Honestly, I don't know. Prisoner exchange, maybe. Asylum if you're lucky." "On Kira, there is a place in the northern mountains. They glow blue at twilight from bioluminescent moss." Her voice was distant. "I always thought I would return after achieving glory. Now I never will." "Maybe you will after the war." "There will always be war." "Then maybe it's time that changed." She looked at him. "You believe that is possible?" "I believe people can change." Her hand found his, fingers interlacing. The touch was electric. They walked that way for several steps before she pulled back, aware of her squad watching. "Forgive me?" "Don't," Ashton said. "Don't apologize." Pink flushed through the green of her cheeks. Vorik's hand went up. Everyone froze. He pointed down into a ravine where a small structure nestled against the cliff, an abandoned research outpost. "Rissa would go there," Serac said. They approached cautiously. Inside, a Chiron female with observant eyes sat treating a gash across her forearm. "Rissa," Serac said. The medic looked up, saw Ashton, didn't change expression. "I assume there is a story behind the human." "There is. And I assume we are fugitives now." "We are. Then sit, your leg is poorly wrapped." Rissa worked quickly, replacing Ashton's field dressing with proper medical supplies. "The human did this?" she asked. "Yes. Adequate work." She glanced at Ashton. "You may approach." She studied him with clinical detachment. "You are the reason she is alive. I helped. My people teach that mercy is weakness, but mercy kept my commander alive." Rissa's mouth curved. "I think I like this human." She turned to Serac. "I assume we follow him somewhere?" "To extraction, to escape the execution order." "Then I am with you." They gathered supplies and moved out. The group had changed, no longer enemies, but a unit forged from necessity. As they climbed toward the ridge, Rissa spoke quietly to Ashton. "She cares for you. We just met. That does not change what I observe." Her eyes were sharp. "Be careful with her heart, human. She does not know how to protect it." Before he could respond, Kessa's voice cut through the forest. "Contact, multiple hostiles." Everyone dropped into defensive positions, through the trees, at least a dozen Chiron soldiers. "Wait," Serac held up her hand. "That is not standard formation." The lead soldier emerged. Female, taller than Serac, with the same distinctive features. Commander insignia, cold fury. Serac's face went pale. "Varak, your sister?" "My sister." Varak's eyes swept the group, lingered on Ashton with contempt, fixed on Serac. "So it is true," she said in English. "My sister, a traitor." "We were declared compromised," Serac said steadily. "We chose survival." "You chose dishonor." Varak moved closer, soldiers spreading out. "I did not expect to find you corrupted by human influence." "Corrupted by truth?" Serac shot back. "The Empire lied to us about everything." "The Empire is 3,000 years of glory. And you are a commander so afraid of peace that you would rather see your own sister dead." Varak's hand moved to her sidearm. Ashton's weapon came up, but Serac stepped between them. "If you came to execute us, do it, but do not pretend this is about honor. It is about loyalty." I have learned there are things more important than blind obedience. Such as? Serac looked back at Ashton, at her squad, such as choosing who we become. Varrock drew her weapon. Then you have chosen death. The forest erupted. Vorik and Kessa opened fire. Ashton grabbed Serac, pulling her down as energy bolts carved through the air. They ran, fighting a retreat to the ravine's edge. We are trapped, Vorik said. No, Ashton said, studying terrain. Jax, Kessa, defensive positions here. Everyone else, we circle back and flank them. They split up. Pure human tactics. Deception. Misdirection. Varrock's team took the bait. When Ashton's group opened fire from behind, the soldiers scattered. Varrock turned, saw Ashton, raised her weapon. Serac tackled her sister to the ground. They grappled, identical training making them equal. Serac disarmed her, but Varrock countered, pinning her against a tree. You could have been great, Varrock hissed, and you threw it away. I found something worth more than the Empire's lies. There is nothing worth more. There is everything worth more. Serac broke free, struck her sister's ribs. Varrock staggered, reached for a backup weapon. Serac froze between love and survival. Ashton made the choice. His shot took the weapon from Varrock's hand without injuring her. She spun toward him, fury and respect in her eyes. You could have killed me. Didn't need to. Varrock looked at her sister, at the human who had spared her, at the squad standing together. Something shifted in her expression. Go, she said quietly. I will tell them you died, but if we meet again, I will not hesitate. I know. The sisters stared at each other. Then Varrock signaled her team to withdraw. Serac stood motionless. Ashton moved to her side. You okay? I do not know. Tears on her cheeks. She is my sister, and I may never see her again. She let you go. That means something. Does it? Yeah, it means even she knows what you're doing matters. Serac leaned into him, forehead against his shoulder. He wrapped one arm around her. When she pulled back, her eyes had hardened with resolve. We should move. They pushed toward extraction. Serac's hand found Ashton's again, and this time she didn't let go. The night settled thick around them as they made camp in a sheltered hollow. Ashton posted Vorik and Jackson as sentries, while the others tended wounds and rationed what little food remained. 2 more days to extraction. 2 more days of staying alive. Serac sat apart from the group, staring into the darkness where her sister had disappeared hours before. Ashton watched her for several minutes before approaching. You should eat something, he said, offering a ration bar. She took it without looking at him. I killed her squad members today. Kyra and I have trained beside, fought beside. They were trying to kill you. That does not make it easier. She finally met his eyes. On Kira, family bonds are the only emotional connection we are permitted. Everything else is weakness, and I chose to stand against my own sister. Ashton sat beside her. You chose to live. Did I, or did I simply choose a different death, slower, more painful, exile with no home, no purpose? You have purpose. You're saving your squad. By leading them into an uncertain future with a species we were taught to hate. She broke the ration bar in half, but didn't eat. What if I am wrong, Ashton? What if everything I feel is simply desperation disguised as conviction? What do you feel? The question hung between them. Serac's hand moved to his, hesitant. Confusion, fear. Her voice dropped, and something else I do not have words for, something I was never taught to name. Ashton turned his hand over, palm against hers. Her skin was warm, the contact sending electricity up his arm. I don't have words for it either, he said. She leaned closer, her shoulder against his. They sat that way in silence, the sounds of the forest around them, her squad carefully not watching from across the clearing. Tell me about Earth, she said finally. What do you want to know? Anything, everything. I want to understand what I am defecting toward, not just what I am fleeing from. Ashton thought for a moment. Earth has oceans that stretch farther than you can see. Mountains that make these look like hills. Cities with billions of people, all different, all trying to figure out how to live together. It sounds chaotic. It is, but it's also beautiful. We argue, we fight, we make mistakes, but we also create art and music and stories. We fall in love. We choose our own paths. Love, she tested the word. We have no equivalent. There is reproduction, strategic partnerships, but this concept of choosing someone because of how they make you feel, it is alien to us. Maybe that's what your people lost somewhere along the way. She was quiet then. When this is over, when we reach your extraction point, what happens to us? I told you, asylum maybe. No, she turned to face him fully. I mean us, you and I. The question he'd been avoiding. Ashton met her amber eyes, saw vulnerability there that cut through him. I don't know, he said honestly. I'm a soldier. You're a fugitive from an enemy empire. Command will separate us, probably interrogate you for months. There are regulations, protocols. I am not asking about regulations. Her hand tightened on his. I am asking what you want. What did he want? He'd known her less than 2 days. She was supposed to be his enemy. Everything about this was against his training, his duty, his common sense. But when he looked at her, none of that mattered. I want you to be safe, he said. I want your squad to make it home, and I want... He stopped. She leaned forward, her face inches from his. What do you want, Ashton? This, he said, and kissed her. She stiffened for half a heartbeat, then responded with an intensity that stole his breath. Her hand came up to his face, fingers tracing his jaw. He pulled her closer, feeling the lean strength of her body against his. The kiss deepened, exploratory and hungry, two people from different worlds finding common ground in the space between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against his. I do not know what I am doing, she whispered. Neither do I. But I do not want to stop. Good. They kissed again, slower this time, savoring it. His hand moved to her hair, the coral pink strands soft between his fingers. She made a small sound against his mouth, something between a sigh and a whimper that sent heat through him. A deliberate cough from across the clearing broke them apart. Risa stood there, medical bag in hand, expression carefully neutral. Forgive the interruption, she said, but Taven's wound needs tending, and I require better light. Also, Vorik wishes to discuss tomorrow's route. Translation: the squad had noticed and was giving them privacy while also reminding them they had responsibilities. Ashton appreciated the diplomacy. I will be right there, Serac said. Rissa nodded and withdrew. Serac turned back to Ashton, pink still flushing her cheeks. We should... Yeah. Neither moved. Finally, Ashton stood and offered his hand. She took it, let him pull her up. They walked back to the group together, and if their hands stayed linked a moment longer than necessary, no one commented. The next morning brought rain, cold and relentless. They pushed through it, miserable but determined. The terrain grew rougher, forcing them to navigate steep ravines and loose scree. Taven, still recovering from his wound, struggled to keep pace. Ashton and Vorik took turns supporting him. By midday, they were all exhausted. Kessa scouted ahead and found a cave system that offered shelter from the weather. They huddled inside, warming themselves with emergency heat packs. Ashton pulled out his communicator, checking for signals. Still nothing from his unit, but the extraction coordinates were only 30 kilometers away now. One more day if the weather cleared. He became aware of Serac watching him. She sat across the small fire they'd managed to start, her armor drying, her hair loose around her shoulders. Their eyes met and held. Vorik cleared his throat. Commander, we should discuss the extraction protocol. The humans' people will be cautious. We need a plan to demonstrate we are not a threat. Agreed, Serac said, but her gaze lingered on Ashton another moment before she turned to her second. They spent the next hour planning. Ashton would approach the extraction point first, make contact with his command, explain the situation. The Chiron squad would remain at a distance, weapons visible but lowered. It was risky. His people might shoot first and ask questions later, but it was the best option they had. As they talked, Ashton's communicator crackled to life. Static, then a voice broke through. Drake, if you're receiving this, respond. Extraction window opens at dawn, coordinates unchanged. Confirm receipt. His handler, Colonel Hendricks. Ashton grabbed the communicator. This is Drake, I copy. Extraction confirmed for dawn. Static then. Drake, what's your status? We lost contact with the entire team. Status is complicated. I have civilians requiring evacuation. A pause. Civilians? Drake, this is a combat zone. What civilians? Ashton glanced at Sirac. It's complicated, sir. I'll explain at extraction. Drake, I need confirmation that you'll hold for additional passengers. 6 total, including myself. Another pause, longer this time. 6, Drake, who exactly are you bringing? People who need help, sir. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. Will you hold for all 6? The silence stretched. Finally, confirmed, but Drake, if this is some kind of trap. It's not, sir. These people are friendlies. Just trust me. I'll see you at dawn. Hendricks out. The communicator went dead. Ashton set it down and found the entire Chiron squad staring at him. You did not tell him, Vorik said. No? Why? Because if I tell him over comms that I'm bringing Chiron defectors, he'll abort the extraction and we all die here. Ashton met each of their eyes in turn. I'm gambling that once we're face to face, once he sees you're not a threat, he'll listen. It's not a great plan, but it's what we have. You are risking your career, Sirac said quietly, your reputation, possibly your freedom. Yeah. Why? The question again. He looked at her, at the woman who'd been his enemy 3 days ago and was now something else entirely. Because it's the right thing to do. Kessa snorted, this human and his right thing, it will get him killed one day. Perhaps, Rissa said, but today it may save us all. They rested through the afternoon. As evening fell, Ashton found himself beside Sirac again, this time without pretense. She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. Tomorrow changes everything, she said. Yeah, I am afraid. She tilted her face up to his, but I am also grateful, for you, for this chance. He kissed her, slow and deep. When they broke apart, he kept her close. Whatever happens tomorrow, he said, we face it together. Together, she repeated. I am beginning to understand why humans value that word so much. They stayed that way as night fell, 2 people from different worlds finding warmth in each other while the storm raged outside and an uncertain future waited at dawn. Dawn came cold and gray, the rain finally spent. Ashton checked his weapon for the 3rd time and looked at the 6 faces watching him. 5 Chiron, exhausted and nervous, and himself, a human soldier about to commit what might be treason. 30 minutes to extraction point, he said. Remember the plan. I go first, make contact, signal when it's clear. And if it is not clear? Vorik asked. Then you run. We will not leave you, Sirac said. You will if I order it. Ashton met her eyes. That's the deal. Her jaw tightened, but she nodded. They moved through the forest in silence. The extraction coordinates led to a clearing on a ridge. As they approached, Ashton signaled the squad to hold position in the tree line. Wait for my signal, he said. Sirac caught his arm. Ashton! He kissed her, hard and quick. Trust me, he said. Then he stepped into the clearing alone. The extraction ship materialized seconds later, its stealth camouflage dropping as it settled onto the ridge. The boarding ramp lowered, and Colonel Hendricks emerged, flanked by 2 armed Marines. The colonel was 50, gray-haired with eyes that missed nothing. Drake, he said, you look like hell. Sir, your team? Dead or scattered, sir. I'm the only one who made the rendezvous. Hendricks' expression darkened. So, let's get you home. Where are these civilians you mentioned? Ashton didn't move. About that, sir. They're not exactly civilians. Explain. They're Chiron military, scout unit, marked for execution by their own command. They're defecting. The Marines raised their weapons instantly. Hendricks' face went stone cold. You brought enemy combatants to an extraction point. They saved my life, sir, and they have intelligence that could end this war. Or it's a trap. It's not a trap. I've spent 3 days with them. They're genuine. 3 days? Hendricks looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Drake, you can't determine loyalty in 3 days. Maybe we've been wrong about them. Or maybe they've played you perfectly. Hendricks drew his sidearm. Where are they? Sir, I'm asking you to trust my judgment. So they can ambush my ship? Not a chance. Then we're at an impasse. Hendricks stared at him. You're refusing a direct order? I'm asking you to give me 5 minutes. The silence stretched. Finally, Hendricks spoke. 2 minutes. They come out unarmed, hands visible. First sign of threat, my men open fire. Ashton turned toward the tree line and gave the signal. Sirach emerged first, hands raised, weapon left behind. Then Vorik, then the others, one by one. They walked into the clearing with the kind of courage that came from having nothing left to lose. The Marines tracked them with weapons. Hendricks stared. 5 Kuran. 5 defectors who chose survival over orders, Ashton said, who have intelligence on Chiron fleet movements, defensive positions, command structures. Sirach stepped forward. I am Sirach, commander of the 7th Talon. We have information, but more than that, we are proof that your enemy is not what you believe. You're proof that Chiron can lie convincingly. We are proof that Chiron can choose. Her voice was steady despite 3 weapons aimed at her. Your soldier showed me mercy when he had no reason to, and in doing so, he demonstrated that everything my empire taught me about humans was wrong. Hendricks looked at Ashton. You gave aid to an enemy combatant? I gave water to someone dying of thirst. That's a court-martial offense. Then court-martial me, sir, but let them live. Why? Why risk everything? Ashton looked at Sirach, at the woman who'd been his enemy and become something infinitely more. Because they're not the enemy. They're just people caught in a war neither side wants to end. He turned back to Hendricks. And because she's worth it. Hendricks followed his gaze, saw something in how Ashton looked at Sirach. Understanding dawned on his face. Oh, Drake, he said quietly, what have you done? What I had to. Hendricks holstered his weapon. The Marines looked confused but kept weapons raised. You realize this creates an impossible situation. Even if I believe they're genuine, Command will never allow this. Cross-species fraternization with an enemy combatant during wartime? Sir, but, Hendricks continued, 5 Chiron defectors, if genuine, represent the single biggest intelligence opportunity of this war. He pointed at Ashton. Get them on the ship. We'll sort out the mess later. Yes, sir. The squad moved toward the ship. As Sirach passed Hendricks, she stopped. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet. You have no idea what you're walking into. I know enough. I know that we chose this path. The extraction was smooth, the ship-breaking atmosphere within minutes. Ashton found Sirach in the cargo hold where the squad had been secured, not restrained but under guard. She stood at a viewport, staring at the moon shrinking below. Second thoughts, he asked. Many, but no regrets. She turned to him. What happens now? Debriefings. Intelligence will want everything you know. It could take months. Will I see you? I don't know. Probably not during the initial processing. Her hand found his. I am afraid of losing what we found. We won't. Whatever comes, we face it. Together, she said, and kissed him. The guard cleared his throat. Sir, fraternization protocols can wait 5 minutes, Ashton said without breaking the kiss. When they finally pulled apart, Sirach's expression was determined. I will tell them everything. Every troop movement, every defensive position, every weakness. Not because I hate my people, but because this war must end. It's not exile, it's a new beginning. Perhaps. She looked at her squad, at the guards, at the human ship carrying them toward an unknown future. But we are not just 6 fugitives seeking asylum, Ashton. We are the first crack in a wall that both sides believed was unbreakable. 3 weeks later, Ashton sat in a debriefing room facing a panel of senior officers. The questions were hostile. He'd violated protocol, endangered his mission, committed fraternization with an enemy combatant. Lieutenant Drake, the lead officer said, do you understand the severity of your actions? Yes, sir. Then explain why you believe those actions were justified. Ashton thought about Sirach, held somewhere in this facility, probably facing similar interrogation. Because I believe peace is possible, he said, and I believe it starts with individuals making different choices. I chose mercy, and that choice led to 5 Chiron defectors providing intelligence that your own analysts confirm could save thousands of human lives. It also led to you developing an inappropriate relationship. It led to me understanding that she was never really my enemy, just someone on the other side of a war neither of us chose. The panel exchanged glances. The lead officer leaned forward. The intelligence has been verified. It is invaluable. For that reason, this panel is prepared to offer leniency. However, there are conditions. Sir, you will have no further contact with the Chiron defectors during their integration process. You will undergo psychological evaluation, and you will accept reassignment away from this theater. For how long? Indefinitely. The defectors are being granted provisional asylum, but you will not be part of that process. Ashton's hands clenched. I understand. 6 months later, Ashton stood on Earth, staring at an ocean he hadn't seen in 2 years. His reassignment had taken him far from the front lines. He'd had no contact with Saract, no way of knowing if she'd survived the integration process. His communicator chimed, a message from an unknown sender. They say the northern mountains of Earth glow under starlight. I would like to see that. If you would like to show me, I will be at the coordinates below at sunset tomorrow. Ashton stared at the message for a long time. Then he started packing. The next evening, he stood in a mountain clearing as the sun dipped toward the horizon. He heard footsteps behind him and turned. Saract emerged from the trees, dressed in human clothing. Her coral pink hair was loose around her shoulders. Her amber eyes found his, and she smiled. You came, she said. Did you doubt it? A little. 6 months is a long time. Not long enough to forget. She crossed the distance between them, and he pulled her into his arms. They stood that way as the sun set and the first stars appeared. My squad received asylum, she said. We are free, learning to live in a galaxy that is larger than we imagined. And you, are you learning? I am learning many things, how to choose without orders, how to feel without fear. She looked up at him, and I am learning that some choices, once made, stay with you forever. Yeah, Ashton said, they do. He kissed her as the mountains around them began to glow with reflected starlight, and somewhere in the darkness, 2 civilizations moved one small step closer to understanding that the distance between enemy and ally was shorter than anyone had imagined. It started with one man sharing his rations. It grew into something that would reshape the galaxy. But in that moment, it was just 2 people holding each other under alien stars, proving that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply choosing to care.